When you think about champions, you usually think dynasties, right? Teams that win year after year. Well, this isn't that story. This is something wilder. It's about a team that hit the absolute top and then did it again 50 years later. We're diving into the Milwaukee Bucks and their tale of two totally separate peaks. Just look at that, 1971 and 2021. Two trophies, 50 years apart. I mean, think about that. That's not just a long time in sports, that's a lifetime. We're talking completely different eras of basketball, different generations of fans, even different buildings where they played. So yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? How on earth does a team win it all, basically disappear from the top for half a century, and then somehow climb that mountain all over again? It's an incredible story, really. It's about two superstars, a whole lot of waiting, and a city that just kept believing. Okay, so to really get how they did it the second time, we've got to go all the way back to the beginning, the first peak. We're talking the late 60s, early 70s. Welcome to Kareem's kingdom. And here's the crazy part. It happened so fast. I mean, look at this. The team is founded in 68. The very next year, they win a literal coin toss. A coin toss. And get to draft this college phenom named Lou Alcindor. And then, boom, by 1971, their third season in existence, they're NBA champs. That's one of the quickest trips from expansion team to champion, ever. And this guy, right here, he's the reason this is Lou Alcindor, who you probably know better as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He was just a game changer, an absolutely unstoppable force who, would eventually become the league's all-time leading scorer. No big deal. 30.4. Just let that number sit for a second. That was his average points per game while he was in Milwaukee. The guy was an offensive machine, just completely dominated from day one. But listen, it wasn't a one-man show. The front office pulled off a genius move, bringing in an absolute legend, Oscar Robertson, to play alongside him. And that duo, forget about it. They were a powerhouse. They just crushed the rest of the league, going 66-16 and winning that first championship. And then it was over, just like that. Kareem wanted a bigger stage, a bigger market, and asked for a trade. By 75, he was out, and Milwaukee's first golden age just ended. It was a huge blow, and it sent the team into a long, long period of just waiting. Which brings us to the next part of their story. A 50-year-long part, actually. We're calling it the Long Valley of Waiting. You can kind of see the time passing just by looking at the jerseys, right? You've got the classic look from the 70s, and then you've got the very 90s purple and green look. The style kept changing, but one thing stayed the same: no championship. Now, to be fair, it wasn't 50 years of being straight up awful. Oh no, they had some really good teams. Those Sidney Moncrief teams in the 80s were always in the mix. And remember the Big Three era? Ray Allen, Sam Cassell, Glenn Robinson? They got so close, just one game away from the finals in 2001. But it was always almost. They just couldn't get back to the top. And for every glimmer of hope, it felt like there was a moment like this. This one still stings for Bucks fans. In 1998, they drafted a guy you might have heard of, Dirk Nowitzki, a future MVP, a future champion, and they traded him on draft night. It's one of those trades that goes down in history as an absolute what-if. But after all that waiting, all those close calls and bad breaks, something started to change. Even when things were at their absolute worst, the foundation for the next peak was being laid. And that brings us to a whole new era and a whole new superstar. And when I say worst, I mean it. Check out this record from the 2013-14 season, 15-67. Oof, that was the worst record in the whole league. The worst the Bucks had ever been. This was rock bottom, no question about it. But you know what they say about hitting rock bottom? There's nowhere to go but up. And the Bucks came up with a serious plan. This wasn't just about drafting players, it was a total franchise overhaul. It started with taking a chance on a skinny kid from Greece. Then new owners came in and promised to keep the team in town. They built a brand new arena. It was like, one step at a time, they were building a championship culture from scratch. And that skinny kid from Greece? Well, he turned out to be this guy, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek freak. He came into the league as a total project, this raw, unknown talent. And through pure hard work, he turned himself into a two-time MVP, one of the best players alive. And the best part? He did it all in Milwaukee, the city that took a chance on him. So in 2021, it all paid off. 50 years after their last title, the Bucks were back in the NBA Finals. And it wasn't even easy. They went down 0-2 against the Phoenix Suns, but Giannis was just not going to be denied. He put the team on his back, they stormed back and won it all. What a comeback. And here it is, the payoff. The team back at the White House celebrating a championship. After 50 years of waiting, they were back on top of the basketball world. This picture really says it all, doesn't it? So when you take a step back and look at the whole 50-year story, what is this team all about? What's the real identity of the Milwaukee Bucks? Well, the answer might have been hiding in plain sight since 1968. Seriously, when they held a fan contest to name the team, this is why the winner chose Bucks. And think about it. Spirited, good jumpers, fast, and agile. Doesn't that just perfectly describe both Kareem and Giannis? And that's really the heart of the story, right? It's these two separate mountains, climbed 50 years apart, but each one was led by a truly once-in-a-generation player. Two of the all-time greats, bringing a title to the same city. So when you boil it all down, it's this incredible story of resilience. It's about a small market team proving everyone wrong, proving that if you're patient, you make smart moves, and you get a little lucky with a legendary player, you can absolutely reach the top. And then, maybe, do it all over again. Which, of course, leaves us with one last big question. They had these two amazing, completely separate eras of greatness in their first 50 years. So, what about the next 50? What does the future hold for the Bucks? I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll be back here in 2071 talking about a third peak. Now, wouldn't that be something?